Hey guys, I know that it's not the second Wednesday of the month. This is when I usually have the Meet the Attorney episode in this podcast. But I ran into a gentleman recently that I wanted to interview because he has an interesting concept for you, the attorney, where he actually talks about how he can help your firm really just blow it off out of the water, or help you with operations and everything like that. So if you are in the lawyer space, which most people who listen to me are, and you're struggling with maybe some automation, maybe some details about the way you're running your law firm, you want to pay attention to this episode, because I'm going to introduce you to a person who is an attorney but also helps attorneys just like you really knock it out the park. So without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today is another one of my favorite shows, and that's the Meet the Attorney series. And I have some beautiful content for you today. I know I spoke to you about it a little bit, but I'm going to bring together, to you a person that I think is going to help a lot of you out. A lot of you guys are attorneys out there that listen to me on a weekly basis, and I'm gonna do you a solid, as they say, and introduce you to someone that's going to help you out tremendously. His name is the great Jason Pollen. How's it going, Jason?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me here.
Oh, thanks for coming. I know you're a busy man, but I've already said a few things about you in the pre-intro, Jason. But in your own words, who is Jason Pollen? Who are you, and what do you do?
I'm an attorney. Been practicing attorney for more than 20 years. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a person who likes to build businesses, kind of live through the mistakes I've either seen happen beforehand and try to help myself and other people avoid them going forward with their businesses as well.
Awesome. So the title of today's show is An Attorney to Work On and In Your Law Firm. That's what we're going to talk about today. So tell me more about why that title? Why in and on your law firm? What do you mean by that?
Well, the company is called the of counsel, and a lot of times law firms will have an of counsel attorney that might have some specialization, and they're not really an associate and they're not really a partner. They usually got some experience that they bring to the table in a specific area. And we provide services just like that, except the work we do isn't working on a particular litigation, it's working on the firm itself. So you have an attorney who is a licensed attorney who's been there, veteran, knows the work, knows the aspects of it, who's not just helping out on a legal matter, but exclusively there to build the firm. And sometimes building means getting more leads, knowing what to do with them when you got them, getting a better distribution of the work out of the attorneys you do have, helping you, if you own the business, how to do a better job of getting what you want out of your day-to-day life. And that's the nutshell of it. We're not here to go do depositions and court appearances. We're here to make the firm work.
Right. I got it. So that's an interesting concept. Why'd you start that, by the way?
Well, my first experience with it, I had a first job out of law school, and I had been practicing about 2 or 3 years there. And nice staff, nice people, good firm, well known. Everything was great, but they never really managed the firm with adding new people in. And we had paralegals; they were great, but always working with the boss, not necessarily the new attorney. And that's fine. I had that kind of feeling of well, nothing's beneath me. I can do this work. And they
Mm-hmm.
brought a paralegal in that worked half her time with me. And the first quarter that happened, I quintupled the fees I brought into this firm. I didn't get quintuple smarter. My cases weren't quintuple better. I just had help. I just had a distribution of work that made sense. This is going to show my age a little bit, but if there was a fax that needed to go to a doctor's office, I'm out there handwriting the fax. Any
Mm.
runner from the high school could have done that job, and you're paying an attorney money to go do this.
Wow.
And so when I left that job, I did some political work, some lobbying work, but I still had cases of my own, and I needed to become very efficient with the least amount of money expended. And so I started working as hard on not just getting and doing the cases, but doing them in an efficient, quick, right way. And this develops just for me to handle cases on the side, comes out of the first job I had. And then it gets a little more robust and a little more robust. And after a while, I felt like I was developing a law firm in a box that I could go deploy it, anywhere. And then my career went on, and we had to decide what to do with it. And so after a few years, I opened my own law firm, multi-state practice, handling a niche practice area. But I made this decision to set up my position in that firm where all I did was lead generation, management of the rainmaking, for lack of better put it, expanding the firm, where to expand, how to expand, people there, training them, getting the systems together, and let the other attorneys do the legal work. We used to describe it like a Domino's pizza. I would bring all the ingredients out into the back of the Domino's, and the other team's ready to shoot pizzas out the front of the Domino's.
That's fun.
And so that system became what I cared more about doing. And this is just just kind of not just an offshoot, but a progression of everything I just described to you, of being frustrated with my first job and learning what the value of help is and when to do it, how to do it. And now it lets me do this part that I enjoy with other firms all over the country.
So when you were describing, what the of counsel is, to me, it sounded a lot like business coaching. So what's the difference, if there is one?
Yes, and I can appreciate that, because that's a lot more common than what I've just described. I've done that sort of work a little bit before, and I feel like if you work with younger attorneys, or I've had paralegals to go on and go into law school and become attorneys now, and that sort of mentoring can be part of the picture, and certainly, depending on who I'm working with and what their needs are, that can be a piece of it. But one of the problems I've seen is this, and I'll give you two versions of it. One is a lot of times that coaching comes into a coach giving a bunch of tasks for someone to do, suggestions on how to mentally get themselves ready to put those tasks into action, and then a survey of everything the attorney did wrong. And I'm just not interested in sitting there week in and week out, not really getting the attorneys where they need to be and the firms where they need to be, just because of mental albatrosses people have around their necks sometimes. Not to say that's not important, not to say that we don't address it, but success feeds success. And what I like to do is not just tell you what to do and give suggestions to you. We're going to go do it. I've done it before. I want to build it for your company, and then let's go make this happen. And if we need to do it a little bit or a lot at a time, that's fine. Not everybody has the same needs, but this is what I compare it to friends a lot. People learning how to drive, a lot of times parallel parking is hard for them. And, it can be a pain, something people avoid. But if you're in that passenger seat, there's only so much you can do telling someone at the steering wheel how to parallel park. You can't. And so what I like to do is be the one to go put my hands on the wheel, drive it in, explain why I did each step. why I pulled up instead of and then back into it instead of driving forward in, how far to look, what to look for. And those things where I'm doing it hands-on. And some people just need a little bit and then they've got it. And you know what? Some people don't want to parallel park ever, and they want to give me the wheel every time it happens. And that's fine. And so
that's a good analogy.
So that's and we want to make it where people can make those choices, and sometimes those difficulties become less difficult, but a new difficulty comes up, and that can be an issue. And so all of this is really hard to do as just a coach, especially if it's a coach that's not been an attorney or hasn't done, gone from one attorney to, a staff of 20, gone from, $100,000 a year working by yourself to multi-million or multi-locations. And these are new territories, and I've been there. And so I like to work with people that want to get there too, and figure out the way it works for them.
Yep. Question for you. Do you work with like startup practices, or do you have to have a lot of time already in there for you to help them?
I work with everything from solo practices that don't have anybody working with them and are trying to convince themselves to hire their first hire, down to people who are multi-state with a good team and kind of start. Maybe they have a niche where they're eating up all the market for what they have and doing well in a particular state, and it's easier to go into a new state with a new office and almost making a new law firm out of the blue, to be in that state, as opposed to kind of squeezing the last drops out of the lemon that you have in your hand in the state you started in. And my work ranges between that. And what I try to do in each step is, especially with the solos or the young attorneys, fresh out of law school or just on their own, is teach people how to not just build things, but build things that are scalable, where everything you do has little value when new people come into the scene. Make it where all the knowledge just isn't in one person's head, and someone gets hired and they sit around with nothing to do because there's not a good system to integrate them into the firm. And I want people to not just be where they are, but be where they want to be, and give them the run up tools to make it happen. So that's probably one of the most in demand portions of my business for any firm at any size.
Gotcha. And is it any practice, or is there a particular practice that you like to work with?
Oh gosh.
Practice area is what I meant.
Yeah, I like it all. I've worked with criminal attorneys, biotech, startups, tech attorneys, car wrecks. I like all of it. What I really like is really more important is people that are realizing that this is all the growth they have is going to be part of a team, and empowering the people that they work with, even if it's one extra person aside from them, or like I said, a half dozen. That's what I look for the most. A lot of times attorneys will get in that, well, nothing, I'm a grown woman, a grown man. I can do these things. None of this is beneath me. I take out the trash and make my own coffee, and a lot of times that mindset, while good, can hit you in a really hard ceiling of how you can grow if you're too micromanaging every little aspect. And it's not just a matter of delegating things. It's knowing what to delegate, when to delegate it, who to delegate it to. How do I know if I've gone too far? How do I know if I haven't gone far enough? And that's the part that, honestly, any practice area I can do, as long as we can work with people who are trying to make the wisest step forward for whatever they're trying to build and grow.
Oh, I gotcha. Awesome. Thanks. So let me ask you this, because I want to help. Part of the reason why I do this podcast, just so you know, Jason, is I like to help attorneys, get exposure out there. So like what? Give me some stories. Like what are the common problems that your clients face?
I would say that it doesn't matter if you're a $200,000 law firm or a $20 million law firm. Everybody has something that works until it doesn't and hits kind of a hard ceiling. At some point, if it's just you as the attorney, there's only so many hours of the day that you can bill or collect because you litigated, let's say, a contingency fee case. There's only so many that come through, and having a plan to know when that expansion needs to occur, so you're hitting that hard ceiling, and knowing when to do it. This actually doesn't come from anything I did with law as much as it did with seeing family members fight or seeing relationships I had with other people. One of the things that you often see is two people disagree.
Mm-hmm.
We ought to go this way, we ought to go that way, whatever it is, left or right. Somebody's got to win, and a choice has to be made. But the wisest thing you can do is make everybody involved have an understanding that if we are doing this the wrong way, we need to know what a flag would be to say we are going the wrong way. Like in my example, if we're taking a left or a right fork in the road, we need to know when to turn around if we took the wrong way, and it needs to not be my car ran out of gas and we can't go any further. We don't want to have that. And kind of getting that mindset, even if you're just doing this for yourself, telling yourself, when do I do this? And what I find is when people don't have a mechanism to address the things that are successful and have kind of done the maximum that they can do, they don't have that next move forward. And I like to work with people to help them build that in. You might have marketing that works really well,
right?
And now you need to have 50% more cases. It's still working just as well as it did, but if you need 50% more cases, you got to do a different thing.
Fix them. Yeah, exactly. That's how it works.
And I want to give you a quick example of things
Sure.
I didn't know about. I had a really successful marketing campaign, one of my first big marketing campaigns. And I spent probably about $10,000, $15,000 at least, maybe 20 on a big push, huge return. Just couldn't be more popular. Had clients calling so much that I didn't realize having 4 lines at my law firm was not going to work. My whole phone system got cratered. My wife couldn't call in to say, do you want lunch? I couldn't get clients to call in. You called me for 3 weeks straight, it would be a solid busy signal. And what happens was you got to be prepared for it, especially the good things you do. I got a bunch of leads. They're on the phone trying to get to me. I didn't have the slots ready to take those calls. I didn't have the human beings ready to take that work. Now, there's different ways I could have addressed it. Maybe done marking in chunks, not all at one time, hitting everybody in a geographic location like a bomb. But these are things that if you don't have those plans in place, even your most successful thing can turn out to be a lackluster or a failure. And like I said, this is I had never seen so many leads come through, and I had enough cases to explode my business, but I couldn't take them. It was like I told everybody we had the best donuts in town, and I couldn't figure out how to unlock my front door. And so, learning experiences and being able to be open to those things and being ready to build. And again, knowing when to do it. Another quick example is a lot of times attorneys are doing work that paralegals can do. Well, you're an expensive paralegal if you're doing paralegal work as an attorney. It's even worse if you're a partner doing something any attorney could do. And one of the reasons why, and I'm not saying this is for every attorney or every person, but partners usually the ones that go make the rain. You've got to go bring these cases in. Paralegal's not going to go out and bring in new clients. A partner goes and makes those relationships and shapes those things. And if you are busying yourself doing work that anybody can do, nobody can do the work that only you can do if you own it. And if you don't stair step that work and do it in the right way and plan for success, it's always going to get that hard ceiling. And I like to make it where the ceiling's not hard, just paper, and we're going to push through it. So that's kind of a good couple of examples.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I would say, based on what I just asked you about the common problems that your clients faces, sounds like to me, based on what all you said, was lack of preparation, and that's where you come in and prepare them for something that they may not be seeing. Is that accurate?
That's very, very accurate. And part of what we try to do is show you all the time. There's certain things that are unknown and will come out of nowhere. But there are certain things that will go wrong in a bad way or good. The good example I had, lots of clients I can't speak to, call them bad in a good way. But what we want to do is have where you have tools in your pocket to know well ahead of time which way things are going. I'll give you an example. If you need to hire a new attorney, then it rarely takes less than 90 days. It's hard to hire somebody in 30 days if you know who they are and they're ready to say yes, and you don't need to interview. They're giving somebody else 2 weeks notice, some holidays coming up, so they want to take Thanksgiving week off or whatever, and the desk hasn't come in that you ordered for their office, whatever. It's hard to do 30 days if you're ready to pull the trigger on day one. And so if you can't tell 90 days, 120 days out when you might need to hire somebody, you're already playing catch up on everything. And that's true for a paralegal, that's true for an attorney, what you're going to do when they walk in the door. We call it onboarding. If you don't have something set up for them, now you got an expensive friend in the office just sitting around not doing very much, not necessarily their fault, but and so what I like to do is work with people who not only, want to grow, but want to be ready for whenever the growing happens. So if those triggers of what to do are always there, and a lot of the times they create a system for you to just pick up and run with as soon as you start seeing those flags. Small example, if I know a good breakdown of all the work that's being done, a list of things so for example, an attorney doesn't need to do, any paralegal, legal assistant can do, I've now got a list of things that my new hire might need to do. I've got a list of things to put in that ad I'm going to put online to bring somebody in. I want to know that they can do some of these things. So now I've got a good list of questions to ask for the people I'm going to interview. These things all feed on each other, and having that as a way to kind of pick up a piece and the next thing's ready to go each time. That's what I want to build with folks. And that's something that everybody can, some version of it, everybody can find value with. And like I said, small hires. I'll give you one last example. I interviewed for a job one time years and years ago for business development for a major law firm, multi-state. And they interviewed me about 4 or 5 rounds of interviews. In the last round, I got interviewed by 14 partners over a 7.5 hour day. I got interviewed over lunch. I didn't get a break. They didn't interview me in the bathroom. That's about it. So it was a lot. And in the end, I would be talking to partners that said, this is so good. I'm glad we've got you in here. I think you'd work great. And I'm glad the company's doing something to fill this void. Then I had other folks that said, I don't understand why anybody needs to do this job. You or anybody else. Why aren't we hiring anybody? I had people, that were asking, well, what's going to happen if I go talk to your previous employer? Are they going to have all good things to say about you? And, they were phoning it in. My previous employer was me with my own law firm. I'm sitting there thinking, I'll give you the good review now. And so the point I'm saying is, even big firms, little firms can be disconnected from what they need to do in a good structure. And maybe some of those people I just gave examples of didn't need to be on the interview committee. If you can't, if you're not ready to do a hearing or a deposition, don't be the one doing the deposition. There's somebody else. And like I said, these are things that we can see in major practice areas or small, little niche firms. These are all things that can be valuable. And
Right.
like I said, it's okay if the guy that didn't know if I wasn't an attorney or I'd had a job. That's okay. Maybe you just needed to. He probably was more important for something else that day than
Right. Right.
interviewing me. So anyway, it's a good example.
Okay. Well, thanks. I don't care. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit here, Jason, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Why would anyone hire you or want to work with you as opposed to someone else? Like what makes you different?
Well, the first thing is it's not many of us that do this. You can find a success coach. You can find a success coach that may be an attorney. It's rare. You can find people that started businesses, but it's rare to find somebody who is doing all of this as an attorney for attorneys with experience in multiple parts of the country. It's not just somebody that's used to doing divorces in Tupelo, Mississippi, and they know everybody in town. Well, great. What does that help me, in Denver? And so part of it is I've been in those spaces before, and I've lived through the mistakes, and I've put together the work. The other part is I'm an attorney, and so I haven't just done it as an observer, giving advice. I've done it because I've had to solve those problems, solve them for myself, and kind of having the skin in the game of that. And the next bit is because of our structure as the of counsel, there's plenty of people who will offer you coaching services, but almost none of them offer an attorney that will, if you want to do these things on your own, you can do it. But if you also want someone who will be there every day or every week or as needed at whatever amount of time, they're working to implement it with you or for you. That's something you'll never get from a coach.
That's true.
I live in Boulder, Colorado, and Coach Prime came up here from Jackson State. Deion Sanders is a new coach.
Yes.
He's probably good enough to do it, but he's got cornerbacks that are going to go intercept the ball. He can't go tell you how to go do it and then go do it too. And one of the things that we do, again, is we offer not just a stair step of work, but can kind of move at your own pace to see where you need the help. Some people need staffing help and don't need marketing help. Some people need, work getting their legal production team to move litigation through the system or cases through the system. It's hard for a coach that doesn't know anything about having that work and doing that work to give you anything other than encouragement and critiques. And again, I'll give some encouragement and critiques, but we also are going to get this done. So and I think that's the thing that makes a difference. I want to put my skin in the game and be there as desired to implement, supervise, or implement, or be there to be in the room if need be.
Yeah. I think the fact that you've been there, done that is a definite plus. So that's awesome. Curiosity, because you've said this a couple of times, I wanted to ask you, why is it called the of counsel? That's such an interesting name.
Well, one of the things that came up, and I've been doing some work like this before. I've had a lot of experience working with third-party marketers. In my old firms, I did all the marketing. I did, whether it be website design, developing call-in systems, whether it be doing in-house or outsourcing call teams, accessibility, any of this stuff. I did it, but I also worked with other people who've done it, and I was able to pick out, hey, is this something that's beyond my skill set? Let's hire them. If it's not, I'll do it. And so what I found when I started working with other folks is that some people would be they've been taken advantage of by some of the marketing that's out there. And part of it is having kind kind of distorted views of how many clicks they had on their website or how many eyes looked at it, and they saw the check going out, but they weren't seeing the clients come in. And a lot of times, what I've been able to do is, and this started as the council piece, is to sit in on those meetings. Well, I'm not a partner at this firm or any given firm at least at this moment, but I'm also not an associate attorney. Those people that do marketing meetings like that do not want to talk to an associate. The partner may not know enough to know about what to do, or may not care and would rather do anything than be in the room for that. And what I would do is, as an of counsel, it lets me have a more a higher level of status in the firm itself as the attorney. So even if not making final decisions, people, whether it be referrals or other attorneys trying to set up referral chains or other third-party individuals, to meet with me along with the partner or in lieu of the partner if that's what they desire. And having that structure there is something you can't get from an associate. You can't always get it from yourself if you don't have the time or the skill set, or, it's kind of sometimes like having co-counsel. Let's talk about what they told us. Here's the holes in it. Here's where it's going to be successful. Here's where it won't. And or in the example I gave with all the phone calls, if all of this works, what will we be able to do with this success? We're going to have a bunch of busy signals on the phone. Mm-hmm. And so with that, it lets me take a role in the firm to the degree that the firm wants, and again, have some actual skin in the game in the building of the firm, and not just me listening to somebody else tell me about a meeting I didn't attend and me nitpick it without hearing it firsthand. Right. I'll be in there asking the questions if you need. I'll be in there holding back and chatting afterwards if someone else wants to take the lead. But it's a way of having a different set of partner level eyes from somebody who's done this as a business owning partner, without having to have a new partner, without having to make an associate do this stuff, and then start wondering, well, why don't I open my own firm? You don't know how to bring these cases in.
Right. Interesting.
Okay. So it's a hybrid spot.
Yes,
it's a hybrid job.
Now, is it just you, Jason, or do you have a team? Or
most of the work is me. I do have some attorneys that I work with on some specialized areas, depending on if it's a more highly technical aspect of the work, and it doesn't really change the pricing for what I do. It's kind of like if you need 40 hours of a month of time, then it's 40 hours a month, and if a team needs to do it. But as you can imagine, with some degrees, if people are starting out, new practice areas they're unfamiliar with, and something that they're needing to build, we can bring in expertise beyond that person or even my own experiences and help, if not just build it up, know where the landmines are so that we're not making mistakes that we don't need to. Again, you might have a good practice that's great. My old law firm, we had a great practice in New Orleans, but if you tried to open the same business up in 100 miles in one direction in Alabama or 300 miles the other way in Texas, it'd be awful. Didn't matter how smart you were. Didn't matter what you did differently. It was just a bad place for that type of law. And so, sometimes bringing folks in for that kind of insight, we do as well.
It's funny you say that. It's so, in my world, in the marketing world, it's the same thing. Sometimes you can have a Google AdWords a Google AdWords campaign that works well for, let's say, a personal injury attorney or family law attorney. You can't take that campaign and let's say you're in New York, you can't take that campaign and run it in Denver.
Right.
Just won't work. It's right. You got to understand the mindset of those folks, the keywords that they're typing, and all that. You always got to do work. So there is no shortcuts.
Absolutely. And there are some of those companies that do, I always call them lead generators. I don't know if they have a particular name, but it's where you're paying a certain amount of money and they get people to come to their website, enter the type of law they do and a zip code, and the aviation law case that came in with your zip code comes to you, or the car wreck or whatever it is. I've seen people really get into that and just have no clue on how to get these people on the phone, because they're used to people calling them up and, not outgoing calls trying to get this person. And, all the money you spend on leads like that, if you can get them on the phone and sign them up, it's gold. And if you can't ever get them to say hello, you've got a name and a phone number that it might as well be, sitting in the dashboard of your car. It's not going to do anything.
Exactly. Yep. Won't do anything. Well, this has all been great, Jason. Is there anything I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
Well, one thing I would say, and I touched on this a little bit, and I think this is important for any firm trying to decide what they want to do. And again, if someone else knows a similar up-counsel business as mine, I would suggest this be part of their view too. But what I think is important is being able to sit down with someone to develop what they want to do at their business, at their law firm. Do they want to be in trial? Well, if you do you want to be in trial all the time with any terrible case that comes in, or the good ones, the ones that are more valuable or more intellectually stimulating, whatever it is? Do you want to phase out of this because you're getting burned out? But that doesn't mean the whole thing doesn't need to work. And so it's one thing for a coach to be there and encourage you and not be able to build the thing, but it's also, it's like a construction with no architect. If we can build walls, but if they don't make sense for why they're there, that's important. And one of the things that we like to do and is take a lot of time in the beginning to understand where the holes are, what if we fix is going to have a ripple effect in a positive light, and then make that attorney happier about what they're doing day to day, whatever that means for them. And it's not the same for everybody. And being able to do that and decide at the price point and the pace you want to go is everything. You can't, it's not like buying part of a pickup truck, and I'll tell you right now, I don't like pickup trucks. I don't haul things around. I can go to the U-Haul to get a pickup truck for the day I need to haul something. But I might need a convertible all the time, Exactly. And so you want to be able to make sure that we're not we, but anybody working with you, and certainly not my company, isn't a cookie cutter setup where we're just going to plug you into the same things and expect the same work. The way you get cases and new clients for workers' comp is not the same as how you get clients for divorces. People get hurt on the job. They often don't get hurt on the job 5 or 6 times, but there are people that get 3 divorces, and so
that is true.
Exactly. So you can't treat the clients or the businesses all the same. And we like, again, having that holistic view is I think is important for anybody. Again, whether you want to work with me or you're trying to make a choice of who to work with in whatever capacity. I encourage people to always think that way. Awesome.
So folks, the website is theofcounsel.com. I'm going to link out to it in the show notes. So if you want to, and also Jason, I'm going to put a link to your LinkedIn as well in the show notes as well. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, learn more about Jason Pollen and this great system that he's got going. I mean, obviously he knows what he's talking about. So, I think you should just check him out. It's theofcounsel.com. Go there right now, if you're not driving, that is, and check it out and reach out to him and just tell him that you heard him on this podcast. So that is going to put an end to this episode. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Go to the show notes as soon as you can. Check it out. And so until next week, this has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Jason Pollen. Take care, everyone. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes. so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.